What an exciting football game that was. It takes 2 overtimes, but Duke gets the job done. They pick up their second victory of the season. Let's have some fun today on Locked On Blue Devils.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thanks for being here with us on Monday, September 9th, 2024, as we start yet another week here on the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the win over Northwestern. Duke improves to 2-0 on the season, downing the Wildcats in double overtime. And our good pal, Jordan Mann of the Big J and Little J show, was actually in attendance for the game over the weekend. So we'll hear his perspective and talk about the win for the Blue Devils. Again, if you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also, make sure that you check out our YouTube page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the show each and every day. Like these videos, share them with your friends. Really do appreciate your support in that regard. And then follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. And I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So here he is. Jordan Mann's back with us once again. And what a win it was for Duke football.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was, like I was saying, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience being on that water, and the wind and everything that could go against you, it did for Duke, and Duke just pulled it out. And look, we'll dive into it, JJ, but an ugly win on the road like that against a Big Ten opponent is a huge win for this team.
Yeah, you take a win any way you can get it, and that's exactly what Duke was able to do. We talk about kind of the makeshift stadium setup. We saw plenty of camera views of it on the television broadcast, and it was very evident that it was a chilly and windy night, so to speak. But just kind of your surroundings, Jordan, as someone who was there, what truly was this like? I mean, it does not look like your average college football environment that people would be used to going to. And we're saying this as Duke football fans, right? We love Wallace Wade Stadium. We're very aware of the fact that it's not some daunting stadium that you would see in the Southeastern Conference or in the Big Ten, so to speak. But what was this environment look like from a true stadium perspective?
Well, I mean, look, if it was during the day, it would have been very scenic with the Chicago skyline in the background with the lake and everything. But it was not. It was cold and it was windy, and it even started raining a little bit, like in the second quarter. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, like I said, because the stadium fit like 10,000 people, and the Northwestern crowd was not really loud at all. In fact, like in the fourth quarter and overtime, there was "Let's Go Duke" chants from the Duke crowd. So that was cool to be a part of and at Northwestern as a Duke fan. You don't hear that, JJ, as a Duke football fan on the road. So that was awesome. But the field surface, too, looked pretty sloppy. I think Malik Murphy slipped. A couple other guys slipped, and then Hazley went down with what is now a season-ending knee injury. So that was scary. But the field itself, man, it was tough. It was rugged, but we got it done.
A win is what we're looking for, and that's exactly what we got. What would you say kind of that crowd split was in terms of did we see a lot of Duke fans there at the venue? I know you were there. Our pal Josh Cox from Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast was there. I saw Ryan Young was at the football game. He was very conflicted, having playing a couple of seasons for Duke and also a degree in playing for Northwestern as well. What was kind of that split of the Duke Northwestern?
It was definitely Northwestern heavy, but they were just very quiet. Like it was it was a funny running joke that me and other Duke fans had. They had like the blow up their big screen, their temporary big screen, and it showed decibel meters, and it was going past 100. And you could probably have a conversation from one side of the end zone to the opposite end zone and hear that person perfectly fine with Northwestern's crowd not making any noise. So, but Duke's was probably, I'd say, I don't know, probably about 10% or 15% of the stadium, but Duke's fans were loud. So that's what made the difference, and that was the fun part to see.
All right, we love it. It's a big win. 26-20, Duke gets the win over Northwestern to improve to 2-0 on the season. They had to get it done in double overtime. From the play that was on the field, we'll get into offense, we'll get into defense a little bit later, we'll get into what's next. in the segments to come. What's the one big takeaway from this victory, though, if you were to give one?
Just Malik Murphy got better at the end of the game. He was very inconsistent, still learning, a young pup, which we'll dive into first 3 quarters. But fourth quarter, late in the last 2 minutes, turned it on. And then in the overtimes, both overtimes, that was Malik at his best. And that's very encouraging to see.
I think a big takeaway is just finding a way to win, right? And Manny Diaz talked about that a little bit following the game as well. It's a younger team that's never been under his leadership before. And so there are questions that are going to come up. Okay, when we face some adversity, how do you respond? How do you get the job done? The environment is not the best conditions to play in. You don't want to be in that setting. And yet they were. And here we are finding a way to win rather than talking about a loss. Sometimes it didn't go your way. Todd Polino missed a field goal that was rather uncharacteristic, but Duke's defense is able to get the ball back and kind of force overtime there. I think the resiliency is kind of a major takeaway from this Duke team.
100%, JJ. And I texted Connor for we are recording tonight, and I said, when's the last time you've seen a college team have 2 special teams miscues inside the 10-yard line and win the game? Quayshawn Brown dropped the punt, muffed the punt, and then started the third quarter. Northwestern blocked the punt and had it first and goal inside the 10, and Duke still won the game. That's remarkable to have those 2 big mistakes inside your own 10-yard line and come away with the win.
Hey, we'll take it. Good job there by the Duke football team to get the job done. All right, let's talk more about the offense. You mentioned Malik Murphy, his performance, what to expect moving forward and more, and we'll have more of a breakdown of Murphy and the offensive side of the football after we take our first time out here on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. It's the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to give them alert, energized feeling they need to get through a busy and hectic day. I certainly love 5 Hour Energy, and you know that you can always find them right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. Stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5 Hour Energy shots. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. 5 Hour Energy is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Once again, Jordan Mann is here with us of the Big J and Little J Show. They've got an episode coming out soon talking about this win over Northwestern. If people are brand new to you, Jordan, what in the world is the Big J and Little J Show?
Yeah, the Big J is my co-host Connor O'Neill. He's a journalist, so Big J, he is the Big J. I'm the Little J because I'm the fan. Talk about Duke football right now, and then once basketball season starts, we'll be talking about Duke basketball as well. So right now, Duke football season mode, 100% and full throttle, and hopefully, JJ, we can continue this winning streak.
Yeah, 2 wins to start the year. Got UConn at home this upcoming Saturday, and then playing at Middle Tennessee State the following week before the first ACC game the last Saturday in September. A really fun one against those guys in Chapel Hill when Duke takes on UNC, but that game at home at Wallace Wade Stadium. So talking about the offense in the win against Northwestern, quarterback Malik Murphy got the job done late in the game. Duke went down by a touchdown in overtime. On the very first play from the 25, Malik Murphy throws a dart to the end zone to tie the game back up. Duke gets a passing touchdown in double overtime and gets the stop to come away with the victory. What are the big takeaways from the offensive side of the game?
Well, we'll start with the con first. Just on top of my head is Duke still struggling to run the ball. But the pro is Duke is still winning without being able to run the ball. So it's kind of give and take. But Duke's just got to develop those running lanes a little bit more. Jaquez Moore did go down also. So now Duke's a little thin at the running back position as we take on UConn this week. But the pro is we have Jordan Moore. I mean, Jordan Moore is just electric. And Eli Pankel, 3 touchdowns in 2 games, had the game-winning touchdown against Northwestern in the wide receiving core got to get better at catching some contested balls. Like, you got to bail out your quarterback at some point. You just got to make those plays. But besides that, they're electric when the ball is in their hands. They can do something with it.
Yeah, really good performance all around from the wide receivers, helping Malik Murphy out a good bit. We'll get into kind of the run game a little bit later, but just talking about, the performance that Eli Pankel has had to start the year as a guy that missed the majority of last season. We knew what to expect out of Jordan Moore coming back for another season, but that's been really nice knowing that, hey, there's another kind of reliable guy to throw the ball to once you get into the red zone, and even kind of the big play ability that we've seen Eli Pankel be able to have.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Moore, like you said, he is good as advertised, averaging 13 yards a complete or catch, and Eli Pankel's averaging 11 yards a catch. He has 9 catches for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's coming a long way, and it's remarkable. Like I said, I think last time I was on here, he had that devastating injury before last season, and this has really been a 2-year absence for him. So to see him come and start his last year really strong like this, to bounce back, has been awesome to watch. And also Samir Hagans. Like, Samir Hagans has been a little reliable guy at the slot guy for Duke. And so if Samir Hagans can continue to make that jump for Duke, then you're talking about 3 pretty good wide receivers for Duke.
Yeah, Jordan Moore had 11 catches on the day. That's incredible. It's 28 straight games now that he's had at least 1 reception, but in double digits with the catches that he had. And then Eli Pankel caught 2 passes, 1 for 16 yards and a touchdown, and then the game winner in double overtime, or what proved to be the game winner from 3 yards out. So pretty good ratio, man. Throw it to him twice. He's in the end zone twice, and he gets the job done.
Yeah, it's like George Kittle against my Cowboys last year. He had 3 catches, and they're all 3 touchdowns. So as a wide receiver, you love that, right? You get your 2 or 3 catches, but they go for tutties. So you take that anytime you can get it.
Big game. The first multi-touchdown game of Eli Pankel's career. So really good stuff for him. And then what Jordan Moore is able to do, kind of the versatility, a sure-handed target. Again, this is important to remind people. He came here to play quarterback. Like, he was in a quarterback competition, and now he's just turning into one of the best wide receiver playmakers in the entire country, man. It's nuts.
It's nuts, and his route tree is just really good for, like you just said, he was a quarterback at Duke, and then he moved to wide receiver 2 years ago, and now his route tree, he'll beat you going deep, he'll beat you on a slant, he'll beat you on a curl, he'll beat you on a jump ball. We saw it against Notre Dame for all teams that he stunted against. He will moss you with one hand or both hands, and to see him continue to take that leap has been awesome to watch, and hopefully him and Malik will continue to make deep threat connections as the season continues.
Okay, so Malik Murphy, 24 of 39, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Talking about the first game of the season for Malik Murphy, a lot of passes were within the first 10 yards of play or behind the line of scrimmage even. And there was certainly a fair share of that. But I felt as though watching the game, and you saw it there in person, Jordan, there were more attacks kind of further down the field from Malik Murphy, which was good to see with Duke kind of utilizing his arm strength.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Brewer's done a really good job his first 2 games as Duke offensive coordinator. Like, the short passes that we see from Duke, that is a substitution for what's been a struggling running game. Like, hey, throw it out wide, get 4 or 5 yards, now it's 2nd and 5, because the run game right now is averaging 2.5 yards a carry. So 2nd and 5 is better than 2nd and 8, JJ. So you might as well just get those 5 quickly and go to work. And then once he kind of gets that rhythm of those short, quick passes, it develops into RPOs, and that's where Malik Murphy's actually been pretty good from watching the film is, hey, RPO, like the Jordan Moore touchdown and then even the Pankel touchdown in the overtime, it was a play action, quick out throw to Pankel, and then the play action to Jordan Moore, first play in the first overtime. And when he can do that, he can make that quick read out of RPO. He's pretty accurate. It's just when he does the straight dropbacks that gets him in trouble right now. But I love to see him hit the quick outs and the RPOs.
All right, let's talk about this run game, because it's something that a lot of people are going to continue to talk about. Better in the total yardage, again, just 59 rushing yards for Duke against Elon. They end up with 93 on the day against Northwestern on 30 carries, so still just averaging 3 yards per carry. The longest run of the entire day was an 11-yard carry from Star Thomas, who is an exciting player that I'm glad Duke has on the squad this year, but still just can't quite run the football.
Yeah, just can't run the football right now. But like when Duke played Elon, they had just a few selective plays, so you didn't really see the full playbook. And then Northwestern, if you're going to the north side, the north end zone for both teams, good luck. You're not going to score. And we saw that 2 field goals by both teams combined on that side of the field, and 2 missed field goals within the 10-yard line. So what I'm getting to is Duke had 2 quarters against Northwestern to really show what they had on offense. And so this UConn game, I'm really bullish about, to where we can maybe see the playbook really open up to see more explosive run plays for Duke. So I'm not completely going to knock off the run game yet. I would like to see Duke play, in a sunny Saturday night game where there is no wind, there is no rain, and just see how Duke can do against the UConn team this weekend.
Yeah, you're trying to dial up the perfect weather conditions. And for the first time this season, Duke's going to play on a Saturday and not a Friday night like we've seen to begin the year. So that's going to be fun to have a regular college football Saturday with the Duke Blue Devils involved taking on UConn. All right, we got the win, meaning Duke scored more points than the other team. Obvious fact for you there from yours truly. That means the defense made some plays when they needed to most. Let's talk about that Duke football defense after we take our final timeout here on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends over at Ibotta, a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure that you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. But with Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You could save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it out and using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege. Ibotta is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today, back with our pal Jordan Mann. He is a host of the Big J and Little J show. You can follow him on X at JMan's Takes. He was there in person for the Duke football win over Northwestern. We've talked about the offense. Now we got to talk about the defense, man. What a performance from those guys to get stops when they needed to most. Despite the conditions, they were able to kind of stifle Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean, look, this defense is so fun to watch, JJ. My God, they had 11 tackles for a loss. They continue to just rack those TFLs up. I know Manny Diaz and Jonathan Packey love to see that and see that on film by a lot of guys. It's not just like one guy that's doing it, JJ. It's not like Duke just has one disruptive guy and it's helping everybody. It's a collective unit that is very solid for Duke, and it's been awesome to watch. And it was awesome to watch Friday night.
Absolutely. Fired up to see them put together another performance like they did, because there's been so much praise with Malik Murphy being the star kind of player addition to this Duke team. But it's Manny Diaz, the new head coach, who's been a defensive guy. I could certainly see it on the TV broadcast, the cuts over to him on the sideline, how locked in and engaged he was with the Duke defense and what they were trying to do. But when plays needed to be made through the air and also stopping the run, Duke was able to do that. Mike Wright, a quarterback, of course, who's played many years of football collegiately at Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, now playing for Northwestern, was 20 of 36 for only 158 passing yards. I mean, through the air, Duke had 249 total yards passing, just 158 for Northwestern. The defense was getting in Mike Wright's face quickly and early, and then also not letting him get many shots down the field through the air.
Yeah, actually, Northwestern came out today, JJ, and they were making a QB change. So Duke basically made Northwestern change their quarterback. So that's how good this defense is doing so far. But Duke had 7 pass deflections to go off of that. And honestly, JJ, that should be probably 7 pass deflections with 3 or 4 interceptions. Duke dropped 2, if not 3 interceptions, and Terry Moore already had 1 on the day, almost had 2. And I think he was credited for the forced fumble also. That was the turnover, thanks to the bunny running on the field, by the way.
Yeah, that was wild to watch. Were you able to see what was going on there? I mean, the TV
Yeah.
broadcast was able to kind of keep track with the camera. I wonder what that was like in person.
Yeah, so that bunny was actually in the end zone that was right in front of us, the Duke fans. So we saw the bunny at the corner of the end zone, and a play or two already was being ran, and then he started making traction onto the field. So that's when it became a whole ordeal. And I don't know if you could hear the audience, but when he ran on the field and then he crossed the goal line again, everybody celebrated like he scored a touchdown. So that was pretty cool that everybody was in unison when the bunny ran through the end zone celebrating a touchdown.
Yeah.
Then Duke fans continue to celebrate because Duke got the ball off the forced fumble. So that changed all the luck around for Duke, and we'll take that. We got to get a bunny celebration now.
Yeah, absolutely. We need the lucky bunny to continue to make an impact on this Duke football team. Love that, man, because as you said, Duke was able to make some big turnover plays on the defensive side of the ball, and then even stopping the run, man. I mean, you look at the numbers for Northwestern. They end the day with 129 rushing yards on 37 carries. That's an average of 3.5 yards per attempt. So still really impressive numbers. But think about this. Take away the 44-yard run that their tailback Cam Porter had, and those numbers are way more minuscule. So really just one big, massive burst for Northwestern running the football. And outside of that, Duke was just dialed in stopping the run, man. Yeah,
that's a great point, JJ. That first play or first drive where he ran for 44 yards, Duke really brought it back in. And the tackles for a loss, like I said, 11. What's awesome to see about that, JJ, is it's from the defensive ends or the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary that all had TFLs. It's not just, like I said, it's not just the defensive line. It's defensive line, linebackers, and corners. And shout out Chandler Rivers, dude. 2 tackles for a loss. He should have also had an interception. He was the one that dropped a pick, and he'd tell you that. But he is I'm telling you, I'm not trying to be biased, but he's top 3, if not number 1, DB in the ACC when it comes to open field tackling. That guy just wraps up no matter who it is.
Yes, he does. Good player. Alex Howard had 14 total tackles, the grad transfer for the Blue Devils this season, 2.5 tackles for loss. It is worth noting Duke was this dominant and didn't have a single sack. So last week, they have 9, an outrageous number to lead the entire country with sacks through kind of the first week of the season. And then nothing this past week, and yet they're still able to get it done.
Yeah, I wish I could see. I need to look bad research on me coming on here, JJ, but to see how many hurries Duke had against Mike Wright, because they flushed him out of the pocket a lot to where he had to throw it away or have a 1-yard run rather than throw it to an open man downfield due to pressure.
So when we look at this and we look at kind of Duke now, 2-0 on the season, they pick up their first win against a power conference opponent in Northwestern, coming back home for the final 2 non-conference games. They'll play UConn and then actually back out on the road at MTSU. What still would you like to see? I mean, what's the focus from both sides of the football going into this game against UConn?
I mean, obviously, just developing the run game, having some sort of identity running the ball. The pass blocking has been really pretty good as a unit. It's actually been pretty solid, all 5 guys. But the run game, it just something has to click there for Duke, and hopefully we can find that with UConn, JJ, because honestly, Duke's 2-0 this year, and this season so far has started off very similar to Elko's first year at Duke, 2022, where, like I said, Duke's kind of figuring out a way to win. Like Duke figured out a way to win at Northwestern Elko's first year. Now they found a way to win Manny Diaz's first year, and we saw Elko's first year was 9 wins. Not saying that, JJ, not going out on that limb quite yet, but it's nice to see a young QB lead a team to a victory, figuring out a way to win.
Yeah, really impressive stuff all around. And again, Duke's getting these non-conference games out of the way before they jump into ACC play, which is going to be really fun and exciting for this team to see how they fare against some of the new additions in the league and some traditional powers and that sort of thing. Looking at the league right now to kind of wrap up our show here today, Wake Forest, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Syracuse, Boston College. Just 6 teams have played ACC games. We'll see plenty more games coming up now in week 3, but kind of wide open so to speak, because not too many league games have even taken place so far.
That, JJ, and also Duke's schedule is more winnable than people thought it was going into the preseason. So that is something to look out for. Again, not saying Duke's going to win those games now, but SMU looks a lot more winnable than they did in the preseason. NC State has a lot of question marks. And then FSU, maybe this is the first year, JJ, maybe it's first year of all time Duke can beat FSU. Maybe not, but maybe.
Yeah, FSU, tough start to the year for those guys down in Tallahassee, and Duke will play them at home on another Friday night game, Friday, October 18th. The Blue Devils will host Florida State, so hopefully we can get the job done there. All right, one more time, Jordan, tell us about the Big J and Little J show. Promote your own personal account and your coverage of Duke football. How can people best support you?
Yeah, Big J and Little J show. It's on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. YouTube is JMan_, where I'll have the Big J and Little J show among other content as well. And my other Twitter account is Duke FB Fans_, and so that's where you'll see my Duke football tweets as I try and have two Twitter accounts, one for basketball or whatever, basketball and anything else, and then Duke FB Fans, self-explanatory, Duke football.
All right, we love it. We'll see you again next week, Jordan, okay?
See you, buddy.
All right, that's Jordan Mann joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always appreciate his thoughts and insights. Good stuff from him once again. That's going to do it for our show here today. Excited to keep talking about this win for Duke football and ways that they can move forward going into the UConn game this upcoming weekend. And we love Duke basketball. John Shire and company getting closer and closer to the start of another season. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.